Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born Joan Ruth Bader on March 15, 1933, in Brooklyn, New York, to Nathan and Celia Bader, the children of Eastern European Jewish immigrants. Her mother Celia played a major role in shaping Ruth's discipline and love of learning, emphasizing the value of education and independence for women. Bader grew up in a working-class neighborhood during the Depression and World War II, absorbing the era's emphasis on civic responsibility and national service. She attended James Madison High School, where she excelled academically and participated in student government. Her mother died the day before her high school graduation, leaving a deep emotional impact. This early loss, combined with the example her mother set, strengthened Ginsburg's resolve to pursue higher education and to carve out a life dedicated to intellectual achievement. By the time she entered Cornell University in 1950, she was already committed to using education as a tool for equality and opportunity. At Cornell University, Ruth Bader studied government and excelled in her coursework, earning high honors. She met Marty Ginsburg, a fellow student whose humor and supportive personality complemented her serious academic focus. They married in 1954, shortly after her graduation. That same year, Marty was drafted into the U.S. Army, and the couple spent 2 years stationed at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. During this period, Ruth worked various clerical jobs, observing firsthand the limited opportunities available to women. After Marty completed his service, the couple both enrolled at Harvard Law School in 1956. There, Ruth was one of only 9 women in a class of more than 500, often excluded from study groups and extracurricular networks. Balancing her studies, motherhood, and Marty's sudden cancer diagnosis, Ginsburg learned to manage extraordinary responsibilities while maintaining top academic performance. These early challenges laid the groundwork for her later commitment to dismantling gender-based restrictions in the law. During her time at Harvard Law School, Ginsburg navigated an environment that offered little institutional support for women. She famously attended a dinner where the dean asked the female students to justify taking a man's place, a moment that symbolized the entrenched biases she faced. Despite these pressures, she excelled academically, serving on the Harvard Law Review, while caring for her young daughter and supporting Marty's recovery from cancer. When Marty secured a job in New York, Ginsburg transferred to Columbia Law School for her final year. At Columbia, she again distinguished herself by earning a position on the Law Review and graduating in 1959, tied for first in her class. Yet, despite her stellar credentials, she encountered repeated rejections from major law firms and clerkships solely because of her gender. These experiences cemented her lifelong understanding that legal structures and hiring practices could systematically limit women's professional advancement. After numerous law firm rejections, Ginsburg finally secured a clerkship with Judge Edmund L. Palmieri of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. She served from 1959 to 1961, gaining valuable experience in litigation and judicial decision-making. Following her clerkship, she worked as a research associate at Columbia Law School on an international project studying Swedish civil procedure. Her time in Sweden exposed her to a legal culture in which women held more prominent roles than they did in the United States, reinforcing her belief that gender equality was achievable and not merely theoretical. In 1963, Ginsburg joined Rutgers Law School as a professor, one of the few women teaching law nationwide at the time. There she confronted unequal pay and a male-dominated faculty, prompting her to begin actively researching gender-based discrimination. These early professional years marked the shift from personal barriers to broader advocacy for systemic reform. During her years at Rutgers Law School, Ginsburg deepened her academic and legal focus on women's rights. She taught courses on civil procedure and co-founded one of the first legal journals dedicated to gender issues. As the women's rights movement gained momentum in the late 1960s, Ginsburg became increasingly involved in litigation aimed at challenging discriminatory laws. She recognized a pattern in which state and federal statutes treated men and women differently in ways that restricted opportunity. Her research formed the foundation for the cases she would later argue before the Supreme Court. Ginsburg also faced personal obstacles, including unequal pay as a female professor, underscoring the real-world implications of the laws she was studying. By the early 1970s, her academic work and strategic litigation had made her a prominent figure in the emerging field of gender equality law, preparing her to help shape national legal doctrine. In 1972, Ginsburg co-founded the ACLU Women's Rights Project and became its general counsel. There she developed a legal strategy aimed at dismantling gender discrimination through incremental but precedent-setting cases. Ginsburg argued 6 major gender equality cases before the U.S. Supreme Court and won 5 of them. Her approach often involved representing male plaintiffs to demonstrate that gender-based laws harmed everyone by reinforcing stereotyped roles. Key cases included Reed v. Reed, which established for the first time that the Equal Protection Clause applied to gender discrimination, and Weinberger v. Wiesenfeld, which expanded Social Security benefits without regard to gender. Ginsburg's careful, methodical arguments helped build the constitutional framework for gender equality in American law. Her work during this period earned national respect and positioned her as the foremost legal architect of the modern women's rights movement. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter appointed Ginsburg to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, one of the most influential federal appellate courts. During her 13 years on the bench, she developed a reputation for moderation, careful reasoning, and respect for judicial restraint. She often worked collaboratively with colleagues of differing ideological backgrounds, including then-Judge Antonin Scalia. Ginsburg's opinions emphasized procedural fairness, deference to precedent, and narrow, well-grounded rulings. While she continued to support gender equality, she did so in a way that aligned with the appellate court's emphasis on stability and legal continuity. Her experience on the D.C. Circuit broadened her judicial profile and demonstrated her ability to apply constitutional principles with precision and consistency. This record made her a strong candidate when a Supreme Court vacancy arose in the early 1990s. In 1993, President Bill Clinton nominated Ginsburg to fill the Supreme Court seat vacated by Justice Byron White. During the Senate confirmation process, she was praised for her extensive legal experience, her clear communication style, and her balanced judicial approach. Ginsburg emphasized her belief in measured legal change and her view that courts should not move faster than democratic institutions unless constitutional rights were at stake. The Senate confirmed her by a vote of 96-3, reflecting broad bipartisan support. She became the second woman ever to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. At her swearing-in, Ginsburg acknowledged her mother's influence and reaffirmed her commitment to equality under the law. Her appointment marked a significant advancement for gender representation in the judiciary and prepared her for a long career shaping American constitutional interpretation. During her 27 years on the Supreme Court, Justice Ginsburg became known for her detailed opinions, her commitment to gender equality, and her careful, methodical legal reasoning. She authored key majority opinions, such as United States v. Virginia in 1996, which struck down the all-male admissions policy at the Virginia Military Institute. Over time, as the court shifted ideologically, Ginsburg increasingly found herself in the minority, and her dissents became defining elements of her judicial legacy. Notable dissents included those in Ledbetter v. Goodyear, addressing pay discrimination, and Shelby County v. Holder, which invalidated parts of the Voting Rights Act. Her dissents emphasized equal citizenship and the need for laws that reflect modern realities. Ginsburg also became a cultural figure, gaining public recognition for her disciplined work ethic and her enduring advocacy for equal rights. Justice Ginsburg faced multiple cancer diagnoses throughout her later years on the court, but remained committed to her judicial responsibilities, often working through treatment and recovery. She became widely known as the notorious RBG, a symbol of resilience and principled dissent, though she always grounded her work in formal constitutional reasoning, rather than personal identity. On September 18, 2020, Ginsburg died at age 87 due to complications from metastatic pancreatic cancer. She was the first woman to lie in state at the U.S. Capitol, reflecting the national impact of her life's work. Ginsburg's legacy includes her central role in advancing gender equality jurisprudence, her influence on generations of lawyers, and her demonstration that careful, strategic legal reasoning can expand civil rights in durable ways. Her contributions remain foundational to modern equal protection doctrine in the United States.